Hey everyone, my name's Walter, and I'm here to invite you to another exciting episode of Reddit Neckbeards. Neckbeards are intellectual giants who enjoy the finer things in life, often including Mountain Dew, anime, and questionable facial hair. They're also possibly the only ones smart enough to see through the lies of organized religion. None of these things are actually required, it's actually the beard on the inside that counts. So with that out of the way, let's get into it with more Neckbeards from Reddit. Before I start the story I'll be reading, check out this store. Adult novelties, German fedoras, magic, Pokemon, Yu-Gi-Oh, and airsoft guns. The ultimate Neckbeard store. Hopefully there's somewhere to get a Mountain Dew nearby as well. This story comes to us from Reddit Tales of Neckbeards. My Predator Neckbeard. Hello everyone, I'm posting this here to set myself free of my past. I'm 20 years old now and I'm finally comfortable coming forward with my story. I am posting this here because the dude that took 3 years of my life was in fact a neckbeard. Now sorry if this is jumbled, I am literally digging deep into my suppressed memories of this piece of crap of a human being. As I said, I am 20 now. This all started when I was essentially 14. So some background about myself at this time frame. I was a very cringe girl, low self-esteem, and I'm a bit on the chubbier side. I was also in a very toxic friend group and I constantly felt isolated. I was truly alone when this stuff happened to me. I was also self-harming at this time. Also at this time, I had no idea what neckbeards were. Anyways, our neckbeard will be called Brad. Brad and I had met on Omegle. At this time, I had more access for the internet since I had just gotten my first iPad. I had no phone until I was 18. So I loved to RP a lot when I was this age. It was introduced to me through my internet best friend. He was gay and I loved him to bits. We don't talk anymore, sadly. So Brad and I exchanged info and we added each other on iMessage. He had an iPhone. This was in the February of 2014 to 2015, either one of those dates. So this is when I asked him if we could RP, and he would always say that he had to go to his closet. He said he would think about naughty things in his closet. And at some point he tried to ask me for pictures of myself, and I should have blocked him and forgot about him. But may I remind you that I was a desperate 14-year-old looking for validation from my friend group. I thought you needed a boyfriend, like having one like you have a Gucci bag. So I stopped contacting Brad until June of that same year. I also had found out that 3 girls from my school group were leaving our school, and I was very happy to have such toxic people leave my life finally. And in June we started talking again, and I became so enthralled with his words. I can't remember what he said to me that won me over so much. I soon find out he was 18 at the time, so much of what he did to me through the next 3 years was very illegal. So fast forward and we are very much in a cyber relationship. We lived in 2 different states, but they weren't far from each other. So he starts becoming more pushy about me sending nude photos to him because he always claimed that he wanted to see me because I was real. He would always try to bribe it out of me, saying, "We will RP if you send me photos." And I told him repeatedly that it doesn't make me feel comfortable. And he pushed and pushed for that year until I gave in and sent him an indecent video and several indecent pictures of myself. And I felt so gross, and he said that he would not show anyone. Yeah, he's a big fat liar. I'm trying not to cuss in this. Well, if she doesn't want to curse, then I'll just have to do it. Aside from being a scumbag who's manipulating someone, this guy's a fucking idiot. Austin Jones got a decade in prison for something similar. The fact that he was convincing the underage girls to make the videos and directing what they do in the videos got him hit with production of CP rather than possession, a much more serious charge. Let me know if you'd like to see a video about him someday. I've thought about it. I'd also like to say that hopefully it isn't just the law keeping people from asking for underage nudes, but even if it is, it's still a positive that they're not doing it. Anyway, back to the story. At this point I was very afraid to tell my mother any of what was going on. She knew about Brad and accepted him. And dealt with the shit he pulled on me. He would threaten to kill himself a lot. We would talk off and on about him visiting me and about what would happen if we were together. And he would say, "Would you let me touch you if we were together?" And I kept telling him no. He always persisted. Thankfully, we never met. Also, a little more about Brad besides his age. Brad was a chunky, tall man, a slight neckbeard. He was a tech geek and had a job of going and fixing computers. If I remember correctly, his brother and sister were assholes. His mother was a diabetic. Bless her heart, she had such a messed up son. I wish the best for her. I later found out he was into furry fuda type of stuff near our falling out. Wouldn't be surprised if he was into lolicon. I could remember him sending me a kawaii, giant plush cat when I turned 15. That cat was recently burned outside my house. He started wanting me to do stuff on FaceTime. He even listened to me sleep once when I fell asleep on FaceTime with the man. I woke up the next morning and he was still on, and he said, "It was cute to listen to you sleep." I was creeped out, to say the least. Yeah, let me stop this for a second to reiterate how creepy that is. I bet you could be married and do this to your wife and she would still be creeped out by it. But Walter, it was so romantic in Aerosmith's I Don't Want to Miss a Thing. Yeah, well, try it in real life and tell her you were watching her all night. It won't actually seem that romantic. He also lied about being raped in his school's bathroom once. Sorry, I'm remembering stuff as I go along. So fast forward 2 years and I'm 16 to 17, finally finding myself through spirituality. I dabble in a little bit of witchcraft. I'm at this point fed up with the man. I started to pull away from him because all he did was bring me down each day. Brad didn't like the fact that I was becoming my own person and standing up to him and his bullshit. Want to know what he did as revenge? He doxed me on other platforms. I got harassing messages asking for my nudes, many of which didn't care that I was 14 to 15 in those pictures. I had developed anxiety because of him. I would have breakdowns just crying because I felt stuck. I didn't tell my mom until it all unfolded later. I kept getting these harassing messages until I was 17. I was called down from one of my classes at school, and in the office was the town's sheriff. I had no idea what it was about because I had forgot about Austin, suppressing memories. The sheriff has said a cop from another state, Brad's home state, had contacted him about the situation and asked me if the name Brad rang a bell. I smiled internally and knew what it was about. I came home and told my mom everything. There were a few times when Brad tried to contact my best friend, call her Dee. My dad still doesn't know this all happened to this day because he would get very upset. And he lives across seas in England and visits us whenever he can. No, my parents aren't divorced, he's just British. I tried to get Brad to confess himself at one point, and he did. I asked why he did it, and I can't remember the response. But he would say that I'm the one immature. It's all jumbled. Sorry. Brad tried his last leg to contact me, but because of him, he took away my trust in relationships, a part of me that I'll never get back. I also had found out he was doing this to 2 other girls the same age as I, and one of their mothers reported it to the police in Brad's home state. My mom and I were shocked, and I was disgusted. I hate the thought that those 2 girls were just like me, falling for it all. I wish I could have gotten their info and be there for them. It breaks my heart. Now here I am in present day. I've been to England recently, living a happy single life, working my ass off towards my dreams of being a fantasy author/artist. I still have the mental scars he left on me, and it's something that I will remember forever. But coming on here and finally telling my story helps me out a lot. You shouldn't feel guilty about sharing your experience. Okay, if the author ever hears this, I'm sorry you had to go through that. People sometimes think that something isn't serious just because it only happens online. But this story reminds me a lot of Amanda Todd's story, just not as bad. She was talked into sending a man nudes when she was 13, and he basically ruined her life over and over with them until she killed herself at the age of 15, before ever experiencing real life as an adult. And who's to say it couldn't have happened here? Even though it didn't, she's obviously traumatized by it. He picked out a teenage girl who was depressed and harming herself already, and then just messed with her mind over and over again. You know someone like that is going to freak out if you threaten suicide, and yet he kept doing it. What a piece of shit. Well, at least he made the 200 IQ move of being really obvious with his illegal pictures, and hopefully he got some prison time over it. Anyway, I'm going to stop rambling now and cover a few posts from Reddit Just Neckbeard things before I'm out of time. I don't want to watch a story where the brave woman wielding a sword kills the dragon and rescues the man in distress. It's unbelievable nonsense and shameful, and that is exactly what Disney turned Star Wars into. Don't worry, there won't be any spoilers here. I'm a few movies behind. Would be unacceptable for a neckbeard, I'm sure. I think women are bad at video games. I think this because fighting is a masculine thing, and a masculine principle that men hold. Most men are biologically wired to know how to fight at a decent enough level from birth. Since women were made to have children and pick berries for the tribe, their biology isn't conditioned to fight, which means they won't know how to react to certain things, which is important in video games. They won't be able to pick up the fighting techniques and patterns in the video games, which is why most girls, play on easy mode. Now what are the chances this guy knows how to fight? He's equating fighting in real life to playing video games. Like what the fuck, kid? Okay, this next one is apparently about Square Enix giving Tifa a sports bra in the FF7 remake. She is one of my favorite characters. The volume on her chest was part of her personality and the design. I remember to enjoy the cinematics on the game and watch this amazing curvy girl. I'm a bit sad because we are losing size on girls in video games. We all know the reasons. At the end, this is business, and Square Enix is afraid about the social network Piranhas. Does he really think piranha is spelled with an N-Y, or is this some word I don't know? Feel free to let me know. I hope you respect my point of view, but for me it is important to keep the original breast size on Tifa. FF7 was my first Final Fantasy game I've played, and it was the best game. The story, the graphics, the beloved characters, and the big bouncing on the cinematics. Boobs are a focal point of view for good and bad comments. This is my way to say I'm not agree with the reduction. Thanks guys. Next thing we know, she loses all of her curves and becomes flat as a board, if not a little bit chubby, because we can't have fantasy girls who are ideals. They need to be realistic, that is, as ugly as these American women who does nothing to take care of their bodies and champion the fat acceptance movement. Plus, it is a world with various monster in it, and they pick big boobs and curves as not realistic. Exactly, it have nothing to do with realism, it is simply because they hate women and beauty. Wow, that one was pretty great. I especially like how the conclusion is that Square hates women. Yeah, that's it. A strictly biological interpretation of human life renders the female orgasm mysteriously anomalous. He used fancy words, he must know what he's talking about. Let's see what the comments say. If female orgasm exists, how come I've never seen one? Checkmate, liberals. Okay, so this last one is apparently a response to a post about a furry wearing a cum-stained fursuit to a children's hospital. Nothing can prepare you for this madness. Seriously? Sure, this is a weird derail, but all the weirdness of this really comes from the focus on the semen. Don't act like at least half of all dudes have splooshed a little in their everyday jeans that they wear wherever they go, including places with many children. If wearing an article of clothing that has been in contact with semen is seriously too traumatizing for you oversensitive Reddit folk, then you truly aren't ready for the real world. Just stay in your parents' basement, scratching yourself, and not bothering to learn about any subjects that are even slightly advanced, like the subject of the superlatives that allow for you to instigate the inclination of willful ignorance in relation to a 1080p monitor, and you'll be okay. Bunch of fucking neckbeards. That was downvoted to -382. Where does this guy get off calling anyone a neckbeard? It doesn't even make sense. Well, that's about all the time I have for you today. Thanks for watching, everyone. If you liked the video, please leave a like. Let me know what you think in the comments if you have anything to say, and if you're new here and like the video, consider subscribing for more of the same. It all really helps out my channel. Now let's shout out my patrons, because I said I would. Levon, Chris Sturman, Invader Jill, Hugo Hedden, Spoofs McJenkins, Cho, Shay Parker, Mary Vinorsky, Luis Orozco, Spoonie the Rogue, Hunter Malcolm, Amanda Gillies, Cody Brooks, Chocobo Asylum, Camper Supreme, Knit1 Code 2, Ryan Ortego, Roy, Lil Spoon, Ms. Mayhem, Jubes, Donuts, Chocobo Valentine, Jack Pacey, Clint Bainter, and Esperova. Thank you all so much. It's not easy to run a next level channel where I add profanity to stories instead of removing it, but Patreon helps me do that. You might notice I didn't make a Nice Guys vs Nice Girls video on my birthday like I was planning. I started and just wasn't feeling it. I will be making a Nice Guys vs Nice Girls within the next week or so to make up for it, so no worries. Remember, I said I would try harder with this channel in the new year. Anyway, have a great night everyone, and don't let internet people talk you into doing anything you're uncomfortable with.